All right, here's a bit of a history of whaling um, worldwide and some of the regulations which have come out of whaling and the advances of whaling, and thus where we kind of stand now with whales. So historically, whaling was pretty dangerous and inefficient. If you think of um, when people first started building boats, they probably noticed that there were whales, and they probably attempted many times to kill them. But whales are huge. You're going to need a lot of, you know, weapons or whatever tools in order to kill them. And so, and or once you kill them, you're going to have to figure out how to drag them back to the land. And so it was very inefficient and it was very risky because they're so strong. You could, harpoon them or kill them or attach to them, but they could very easily capsize your boat, especially when your boat was just this, large canoe with oars. So even though whaling's probably been around for a really long time and really significantly long time, it hasn't been um, very efficient until some inventions in the mid 1850s, which made it much easier. The first, of course, inventions are larger and larger boats and ships, which make it more and more safe to be able to attack something in the water and not be capsized. But some of these other things then made the efficiency in killing and processing whales um, much more efficient. So first is the bomb lance. Well, essentially it has a little explosive device at the end of a harpoon which goes in and kills the whale more immediately. The steam-powered whaling ship, so now you aren't relying upon the wind. You can have actual direction no matter which way the wind is blowing, and can go much faster to catch whales. The cannon-fired explosive harpoon, so a much bigger device that can shoot something that could hit whales and snag them, and have an explosive on the end of it to kill the whale as well. Land-based whaling stations then for the processing of these whales was one development, so they could go to a specific area and harvest all the whales in that area, or as many as possible in that area, and take them to land. But then even next level is factory ships, so doing all the processing on these ships. So these ships have then everything that you would need. You've got the cannon-fired explosive harpoon, the ability to catch up with these whales wherever they are, perhaps sonar equipment to find them, and then once they get them, they can easily tow them up onto the ship and do all the processing right there. Okay, so with each invention, it's made whaling more and more efficient, which has then made less and less defenses that the whales have against whaling. Recently, the probably biggest defense against whaling, other than international regulations, um, would be environmental activists who are going and trying to prevent whaling ships from collecting whales, and this has been documented on a TV series called Whale Wars. I don't think it's been on TV for a while, but it had a few seasons a number of years ago, documenting their efforts to prevent whaling. So whaling then, it wasn't just a free-for-all for all whales. Whaling went very specifically with, of course, the technology. So the first whales to be depleted were those that were closest to the shore, but were very large, and had specific characteristics about them. So right whales were very slow and also very large and had lots of fat. So they were very, and they also had very big baleen. So any production of baleen, which was historically used similar to plastic in, making umbrellas or hoops and skirts. Had a sturdy fiber similar to hard plastic. So lots of baleen, lots of fat, which could be rendered for oil for lamps, or other things you would use oil for, lubricating things. And they were slow, pretty easy to catch, and close to the shore. So right whales were some of the first to be depleted. Humpback whales, not as slow as the right whales, but they gathered in groups, and so were easy to catch in large numbers. Once those were depleted, then whalers, and with the advancing of technology of going further and further out to sea, whalers then moved on to blue whales, right? Because they are so large, right? So they are typically further out in sea, but if you have this big boat and all these tools, you can get out there and catch them. From blue whales, they then went to fin whales after the blue whales were mostly depleted. The fin whales are the next largest, right? And from there, they then went to sea whales and sperm whales, all the way down to our minke whales, which are the smallest of the whales. So these are mostly, they focused on the baleen whales. Sperm whales are toothed whales, but most of the stocks of whales that were depleted were that we considered to be part of the whaling history were these baleen whales. The smaller toothed whales, such as belugas and dolphins, they are caught similar to fish. And so they are more depleted within fishermen's nets, which are trying to catch large amounts of tuna, and the dolphins get caught in there too. But they are also endangered by fishing expeditions. So the International Whaling of Commission, when people started noticing that whales were not an infinite resource and we needed to do some level of protection for them, the International Whaling of Commission then was formed in 1931 as a convention, and they set quotas on the number of whales that could be caught each year. And they did this as commercial whaling was continually being done until in 1982 they set a moratorium on whaling. This was due to some pushback from the public to save the whales, the Save the Whale campaign. And from then, once whaling ceased, now you've got an ability for these whales to continue to increase their populations when they've been reduced drastically. They had some exemptions for scientific sampling, and so some countries since then have continued to do some whaling, Iceland, Japan, and Norway among them. Some commercial whaling still exists in limited regions by Norway and Iceland, and only in certain stocks which they believe have rebounded and are healthy enough to be taken. And subsistence whaling is allowed by Alaska indigenous populations, and I do believe in Russia and possibly Canada as well. But again, it's done with coinciding with scientific surveys done on these whales to make sure that they are able to withstand the amount of whales that are taken, and there is only a certain amount that they have decided, the Alaska Eskimo Whaling Commission, you can take. So that is also regulated. The International Whaling Commission recently adopted, what's up, Wes?
What time is it on the list?
10, go ask Mom.
Okay.
All right, bye, West.
Bye.
All right, so there's a little cameo for my son West. Here we are home. All right, so Japan recently left the International Whaling Commission and will continue commercial whaling activities. That's in response to the International Whaling Commission say, hey, your scientific sampling doesn't seem like it's been done in a very scientific way. And in fact, they've done tests on different fish markets, and they found that the whale meat has been somehow appearing in the fish markets in Japan. And so, although they're saying they're doing scientific whaling, they shouldn't be selling the meat, the things that they collect, but it seems like they are. So Japan said, all right, well, we're done with this International Whaling Commission. We'll just do commercial whaling anyway. And there's nothing really preventing them from doing that, because it's just these international treaties that we make there's no like world force to enforce them. So maybe different countries could respond with restrictions and trading and things like that, but so far it's not really hasn't been met with resistance other than public resistance. So in the US, there has been legislation which has protected marine mammals, and that would include, of course, whales. The Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972 essentially says you cannot take marine mammals. That's all marine mammals. And marine mammals would include any sort of harassment, killing, or even bycatch, which would kill them, or running them over with boats. Those are things which are not legally permitted, although it does happen on accident. So this was brought on by decimations of whale populations, which we talked about before, and the dolphin bycatch in tuna fisheries. Scientific study is still allowed with permit, but generally they aren't going to let you just kill things. And our Alaskan indigenous populations are exempt, and so they are allowed to take for subsistence. That is part of their diet, part of the things they eat, and their tradition, so they are allowed to. All right, our current state of whales. Depending on the whale, there are some troubling or and encouraging things which are happening. So this is just, I pulled an example of a few of them. So the blue whale population appears to be increasing in its population. However, it's still a fraction of what it used to be. It is thought that there were close to 300,000 whales before whaling started, just the blue whales. And now we aren't even close to 100,000, maybe 20,000 blue whales out there right now. The bowhead whale, which is the bottom left, recent estimates have concluded they have rebounded quite a bit. Part of this might be due to better sampling, but you've got a stock that was below 5,000 in the thousands and now is closer to 20,000. So this was from a census about 8 years ago. So the bowhead whales are doing a lot better, at least one stock of them. The right whales, however, so these are the Atlantic right whales, so they are going to be up and down the east coast of the United States. They have not recovered, even though there are a lot of protections for them. And part of that is because they get run over. There have been some years where they have almost no calves born. So only 12 calves were born over the last 3 seasons. That's not going to improve your population if you're not having a lot of calves, and they don't know why they're not having calves. They also get entangled into fishing gear and nets, and that's a problem because they can die if they're tangled and left submerged in the water. So the North Atlantic right whales are not rebounding. And we have here on the bottom right, this is the listing of southern resident orcas. These are the orcas which are along the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia area coast. They are not doing well either, and it's thought that they are tied, of course, to salmon population. And there's a number of dams and modifications to rivers which have affected salmon ability to spawn, and so that has reduced their numbers in the ocean. And so there are some efforts to prevent dam obstruction from the rivers that they use, so that you can have a healthier ecosystem, you can have healthier salmon stocks, and allow this population of killer whales to rebound. However, there are some estimates that they probably only have like 20 or so years, and they will probably be extinct from that area. All right, so that's whaling, our current state of whales, and some of the brief history of them.